physical discipline is completely appropriate. I can't tell you how clear it is to me what happened to this country where a David Frum stands up in front of a Canadian audience in a debate against Steve Bannon and says the point of conservatism is to conserve what is the best of liberalism. And then I come to find out that Christian conservatives agree with the sentiment that we shouldn't be able to physically discipline our children, even though right there in Scripture it says, spare the rod, spoil the child. Spare the rod, spoil the child. It says it right there in the Scripture. You spare the rod, you spoil the child. I can't tell you how it's almost unbelievable to me, but it makes perfect sense. You know, there's sort of a cultural wide crisis of entitlement, a lack of discipline and self-awareness. I think that would probably be best describe it. There's a lack of self-awareness. There's this kind of abstract and esoteric, thought and worldview that everybody can create their own reality and they are the master of what's right and wrong. That's the ultimate, that's the ultimate decay of our society, is that when you strip God away from society, when you strip away a moral and ethical standard, everybody starts to think they can determine their own moral and ethical standard. And in some sense, every individual does have to determine what's right and wrong for themselves. But without a guide, it's very easy to stray the path, to get lost, to convince yourself that when you blur the lines or when you start to move the boundaries on right and wrong, it's justified. It's justified in your own head. This is the beating heart and impulse toward an anti-God and secular culture, is that we're going to define what's right and wrong. That's how you end up with a military-industrial complex that views human beings as inventory and is willing to drop bombs on them to turn over the inventory. This is the predicate for the loss of sanctity of life. Everybody thinks they can define their own right and wrong in the absence of a culture guided by faith in God or religious standards. Now, does that mean all organized religion is great or without corruption? Absolutely not. A sane and rational mind can discern between those two things right away. And I'm a Roman Catholic and I'm proud of it. Deus Vult to all my Catholics in the audience. But there's corruption in the Catholic Church. There always has been, and there still is, and I would venture to guess there will continue to be, certainly under woke Pope Leo. I venture to guess there will continue to be corruption in the Catholic Church and Catholic hierarchy under woke Pope Leo. But we still love the church. We still understand the importance of the church, and better yet, we understand the importance of the fundamental values the church represents and promotes and encourages, regardless of the internal corruption of the hierarchy. Same thing with our Constitution. Same thing with this country and being American. We understand the values of freedom of speech, regardless of how the censorship plays out with one administration or corporate lobby or special interests or the other. We understand the values, the fundamental values, the first principles. And principally, if your child is defiant or disrespectful, you should retain the right to use physical discipline.